the Cast Man, a podcast all about Why the Last Man. I'm Alex.
And I'm Justin, and we are here to answer the question, why the cast, man?
Well, we'll explain it because this is the preview episode of our Why the Last Man podcast. Now, in case you don't know, Why the Last Man, in development for a very long time, based on the comic book by Brian K. Vaughan and Pia Guerra. And it is finally coming out as a 10-episode first season to FX on Hulu, which means it's going to Hulu, not to FX, but it's produced by FX for Hulu. So now you know. Don't go to FX. You can't watch it on your TV, except you can, because sometimes you have Hulu on your TV. I hope that made things very clear.
I think you've clarified that as a sort of a resource, a news source. You definitely clarified that you can and also cannot watch this on your television.
Whatever it is, the concept of the comic book, at the very least, which is a huge critical hit, something that on our live show, Comic Book Club, we've been following for a very, very long time. I think we reviewed pretty much the full run of it. I think it started before we were doing the show, but we did it for as long as it was running while we were doing the show. And
huge fans. Yes, I think we covered this series, maybe one of the more covered books we've ever had on the show. Like, great. We love this book. Great book.
And if you don't know, the concept of it is that one day, every single person with a Y chromosome on Earth dies, except for one man and one monkey, and they go on a big journey, a big adventure together. That's the short version of it. Obviously, there's a lot more involved. They seem to have made some big changes for the show. Specifically, they've gone more in on modern views of gender diversity. That's something that's very important to them. And also, Brian K. Vaughan, the creator, who is, I believe, an EP on the show, basically told them, yeah, go for it. I am a straight white male who wrote this decades ago. Do whatever you want. It's all good. So it should be interesting to see a definitely different and tweaked story than we've seen before. But Justin, before the show even airs, how are you feeling about it? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Where's your head at?
I'm excited. I mean, this show has had a sort of fraught development phase from what we've heard in the entertainment news. So I'm curious. That can sometimes be a bad thing. It can sometimes not really matter in the final product. So I'm curious to see how this comes forward. And like you were just saying, a lot of things will have to change from the comic book to this adaptation for the screen. So I'm hoping they take some big swings. I'm never one to be like, I want a direct adaptation, and I'm going to be pissed if I don't see the crinkles on the TV screen that I have in my comic book pages. I like to have some creative leaps. I like to take what's there as a source material and make some smart extensions of that into what it's going to be. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I agree. Some of my favorite adaptations in recent years have taken the bones of the thing and really ran with it. I think The Boys on Prime Video is a really good example of that. Love that comic book, but they have killed it with the TV adaptation in a very different way. Sweet Tooth, a recent one on Netflix, also I think did a really good job of just taking the bones of that particular book and then running with it in a very different way as well. So I'd be curious to see this. As you mentioned, very fraught adaptation. It's been in development as a movie several times. It's been in development as a TV show by FX. As far as I recall, and I might be wrong about this, but Diane Lane as Jennifer Brown is pretty much the only person that they've hung on to from one scrap
She's consistent.
Another. She's consistent. You got Diane Lane, you got to hold on to her. That's the whole plot of that
100%.
movie. It's not Unforgiven, but it starts with un. It's the one
yes,
the affair.
Unfaithful.
Unfaithful. No, it's Unforgiven, I think.
That's the one where she has an affair with a grizzled ass Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, I think so.
Unforgiven,
it's a crossover.
Faithful.
It's part of the un-cinematic universe, the UCU, if you will. Anyway, I am very nervous. I think this sort of thing, the sort of development process definitely raises expectations, which were already sky high when you have something which is a beloved comic book property. But FX does a really good job with their shows pretty much across the board. I'm hard pressed to think of something that they've whiffed on necessarily. So they take their time. They make sure they get things right. So I'm excited about that. Is there...
I just want to echo that. Like, I do think FX is the best home, I think, for a show like this, where they can really honor creative leaps and follow them through their execution. It's not like this is Why the Last Man is coming to Quibi and the Roku channel or something, where it's like, let's just see what happens.
Yeah, they already had Most Dangerous game. I was about to say Most Dangerous Man, but no, they already have Most Dangerous Game, so they got that locked up in terms of men being hunted across the country and things like that.
Yeah.
Is there a aspect of the show, and we'll keep this episode relatively short, and then we'll get into longer episodes where we're actually doing the recap of each episode of the show, but is there an aspect of the show you're particularly excited to see?
Well, for sure, the tone of Yorick in the comic, he's like pretty goofy.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we've seen of this show, goofiness doesn't really pop in the trailers and whatnot. So I'm curious how they do that. And then I guess the other thing is just Agent 355. Like, this is a character that is like unimpeachable in the comics, just like a hardcore badass, just like driving so much of the action. I'm curious how that's going to come to the screen in a show that maybe I don't know if the show is going to be like more actiony or more conversationy, and I hope they lean on the action side with Agent 355.
My big thing is Ampersand the monkey, which who pals around with Yorick. They just got to get him right. That's the most important character to me. You start with Ampersand and then you build the rest of the show around it. That's all I think.
That's true. Is he going to be a monkey that goes scree, or a monkey that goes like wee?
Maybe he'll be a monkey who's like, get a load of this guy.
Oh, he should definitely talk.
Mm-hmm. They changed a couple of things. Ampersand the talking monkey, and
it's the Yorick is actually Ross from Friends.
Yeah, you know what? I think I just want to watch Friends. Actually, from now on, we'll just review Friends instead of Y the Last Man. All right, folks. Again, this is just a preview episode. We are going to be recapping the 3 episodes that are dropping to kick off the show, and then they'll be weekly thereafter for, as mentioned, 10-episode first season. In the meantime, while the feeds get set up and all that good stuff, you can check us out live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Crowdcast and YouTube. We do a live show there. Love to chat with you about Y the Last Man. You can check out our regular podcast, Comic Book Club, at iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice, at Comic Book Live on Twitter, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, why the cast, man?
Why the cast, man? Why the last friend? Could he be any more the only man alive?